It's legal, Margaret. Your approval's on record.
This isn't over, Tom. I'll bury you!
The air was thick with the kind of heat that could melt dreams. It was a blistering July afternoon in Sunny Meadows, a pristine suburb in central Ohio, where the lawns were as manicured as a golf course and the mailboxes all matched. I sat on my living room floor, the hardwood hot enough to cook an egg, staring at a pint of chunky monkey that had surrendered to the heat, now a sad, creamy puddle. The power had been out for 7 hours, and with each passing minute, I felt civilization slipping away. My wife, Ellen, 8 months pregnant and fanning herself with a dog-eared copy of Parenting Today, looked at me with eyes that said she was 1 degree away from mutiny. Our labradoodle, Max, sprawled beside me, panting like he was auditioning for a tragedy. "Tom," Ellen said, her voice sharp enough to cut through the haze. "If I have to endure one more summer like this, I'm checking into the Hilton, and you're footing the bill." I saw my future flash before me, a drained bank account, overpriced minibar snacks, and me alone in this oven of a house, eating Spam by candlelight. That was the moment I snapped. This was America, damn it. A man's home should be his fortress, not a sauna. I stood up, sweat dripping down my back, and declared, "No hotel, Ellen. We're getting a generator." Her eyebrow arched like a drawbridge. "This better not involve that medieval armor you bought on eBay." "This is bigger," I said, pacing with purpose. "This is about our future. Our kids' future. A future with cold drinks and working Wi-Fi." I grabbed my phone, battery at a measly 5%, and typed "whole house generator" into the search bar. The screen lit up with images of sleek, powerful machines, beacons of self-reliance. I showed Ellen a 24 kilowatts model, its specs glowing like a promise. "This," I whispered, "is our salvation." Ellen sighed, fanning faster. "If it's loud, you're explaining it to her." Her. Margaret, the iron-fisted president of the Sunny Meadows Homeowners Association. She ruled our neighborhood like a queen in a polo shirt, her clipboard a scepter, her gaze a guillotine. I swallowed hard. This wasn't just about power anymore. It was about survival. I knew better than to charge into battle unprepared. The Sunny Meadows HOA handbook was a 200-page tome of despair, its cover the color of bureaucracy. I hauled it off the shelf, dust puffing into the air, and cracked it open. The first page preached about maintaining community harmony and property values. It was like reading a dystopian novel written by a lawyer. For 2 hours, I waded through rules about fence heights, approved paint colors, and the audacity of unapproved wind chimes. Ellen watched me, incredulous. "You're actually reading that?" "A wise man knows his enemy," I replied, flipping to a section on property modifications. There it was, buried in Article 7, Section 3C. Auxiliary power units are permitted, provided they are installed in the rear or side yard, screened from public view by approved fencing or landscaping, and blend seamlessly with the property's aesthetic. No mention of noise limits. The phrase "blend seamlessly" was a golden loophole, vague enough to drive a generator through. I leapt up, triumphant. I found it. Our ticket to freedom. Ellen barely looked up from her phone. "Did they approve inflatable lawn Santas?" "Better," I said, waving the handbook. "They approved my rebellion." Emboldened, I stepped outside to survey my kingdom. The sun was relentless, but I felt invincible until a shadow loomed, smelling faintly of rosewater and authority. Margaret stood there, clipboard in hand, tape measure dangling like a noose. She wore a mint green polo, khaki shorts, and a visor that screamed "I mean business." "Thomas," she said, her voice syrupy with menace, "your Kentucky bluegrass is at 3.2 inches. The bylaws stipulate a maximum of 3 inches. I forced a smile. "Good to see you too, Margaret. Just planning a little home improvement. A generator, you know, for emergencies." Her eyes narrowed to slits. "A generator? That's hardly in keeping with our community's tranquil aesthetic. It's a violation of the noise ordinance." "There's no noise ordinance in the bylaws," I shot back, puffing out my chest. "Article 7, Section 3C. As long as it's screened and blends seamlessly, it's legal." "I wrote those bylaws, Thomas," she hissed. "And I interpret them. A noisy, ugly machine does not blend seamlessly. I'll be watching." She scribbled on her clipboard and glided away, leaving me in a cloud of defeat. The war had begun, and the first skirmish was over a fifth of an inch of grass. Finding a contractor was like auditioning for a circus. The first, Jake from PowerFix, promised to show up at 9 a.m. but texted at 10:15, "Stray dude, flat tire." 3 p.m. At 4 p.m., another text, "Dog ate my keys LOL. TMRW." I blocked him. Next was Brad from Elite Energy, who rolled up in a truck so shiny it hurt my eyes, blasting EDM loud enough to wake the dead. "Yo, Tom, you're not a keep the lights on guy," he said, flashing an iPad with a quote for a generator that could power a stadium. "This bad boy's got Bluetooth, auto diagnostics, and it'll DM you when it's sad. It's a lifestyle, bro." The price was enough to buy a yacht. I sent him packing. Then came Silent Steve, a grizzled man in a van that looked like it had survived the apocalypse. He didn't speak, just pointed at my electrical panel, stared at a bird, and sighed like he'd seen the end of the world. When I asked for an estimate, he shrugged and drove off. I was ready to give up when Ellen handed me her phone. "Try this guy." My coworker's husband used him. Says he's cranky, but good. The company was called Ray's Electric. No website, just a number. I called. A gruff voice answered, "Ray." I spilled the saga heatwave, pregnancy, Margaret's reign of terror. He grunted. "Sunny Meadows, huh? HOA Nazis. I'll be there at 7 a.m. Don't waste my time." The next morning, Ray arrived in a battered but tidy van. He was in his 60s, with calloused hands and a mustache that had stories to tell. He sized up the job in 20 seconds. Concrete pad, gas line, transfer switch. Done. "You deal with the HOA, I'll handle the wiring." His quote was fair, his demeanor no nonsense. I hired him on the spot. Margaret didn't waste time. A cream-colored letter, embossed with the Sunny Meadows HOA seal, appeared in my mailbox, warning that my pile of lumber for the generator enclosure was an eyesore and demanding its removal. I ignored it, focusing on building a cedar enclosure that matched our patio. It was a work of art, ventilated, hinged, and undeniably seamless. But Margaret escalated. That afternoon, a police cruiser rolled into my driveway. My stomach churned as two officers stepped out. Officer Grant, a veteran with a world-weary mustache, and Officer Tim, a rookie with a grin like a kid at a carnival. Margaret charged across her lawn, clipboard waving. "Officers, this man is building an illegal structure," she declared, pointing at my woodpile. I played it cool, wiping sawdust off my hands. "Afternoon, officers. Just following the bylaws. Article 7, Section 3C. I handed Grant a highlighted copy, gesturing toward Ellen, who stood in the doorway looking saintly and pregnant. Tim nodded at my plans. "Nice enclosure. My uncle's got one for his generator. Saved his bacon last hurricane." Grant scanned the bylaws, then turned to Margaret. "Ma'am, he's complying. This is a civil matter, not a crime. Call us when something's actually illegal." Tim gave me a nod. "Use stainless steel bolts. Rust-proof." They drove off, leaving Margaret fuming. I waved politely, but her glare promised vengeance. The permit process was the final hurdle. Ray filed the application, but the fire marshal's inspection was set for the following Wednesday at 10 a.m. Ray warned me. "Inspector's name is Whitaker. Stickler for details. Everything's got to be perfect." I knew Margaret would sabotage it. She'd probably claim my generator was a public health hazard. I paced the house, Ellen trying to calm me. "Just make it perfect," she said. "What can she do if it's up to code?" "She's not human," I replied. "She's a force of nature fueled by spite." That night, I couldn't sleep. Scrolling the city's permit site, an idea hit me, a plan so bold, so reckless, it might just work. I'd learned from Ellen's friend, Karen, that Margaret had a standing Wednesday morning appointment at Bella's salon from 9:30 to noon, followed by brunch with her HOA allies, dubbed the Gossip Twins. The inspection was my window. I called Ray. "I've got a plan," I said, outlining my scheme to claim Margaret had approved the generator. He paused, then groaned. "You're gonna lie to a city official? You got a death wish." "It's not a lie," I insisted. "It's creative truth-telling." Ray sighed but agreed to play along. Wednesday morning, I was a wreck. I'd stained the enclosure, swept the driveway, and placed a tasteful potted azalea beside the generator. Ellen laughed from the kitchen. "You're fussier than me, and I'm nesting." At 9:35, I saw Margaret's SUV peel out. Showtime. Ray arrived, his face a mask of skepticism. At 10 a.m., Whitaker pulled up, clipboard in hand, eyes scanning like a hawk. I transformed into charming Tom, offering water and homemade brownies. He declined, all business. Let's see the setup. Ray's work was flawless clean wiring, secure gas lines, perfect clearance. Whitaker nodded, jotting notes. I seized the moment, casual as could be. Man, I'm glad this is done. My wife, Margaret's the HOA president. You know she was adamant we get this sorted before the baby arrives. She even signed off on the plans in my name to speed things up. Couldn't be here today, though hair appointment. You know how it is. I gave a conspiratorial chuckle. Whitaker glanced at the setup, then at me. He was overworked, eager to move on. Why question a clean install with HOA approval? He signed the permit, noting verbal approval from HOA President Margaret via husband. I nearly wept with joy. Ray shook his head as Whitaker drove off. You're insane, kid. 3 weeks later, a storm hied a roiling, thunderous beast. The power died mid-movie, plunging Sunny Meadows into darkness. I strolled to the utility room, flipped the transfer switch, and the generator roared to life. Lights blazed, the AC hummed, the movie resumed. I looked out the window. Me house was a lighthouse in a sea of black. Across the street, a flashlight bobbed in Margaret's window, then her door flew open. She stormed over in a raincoat and pajamas, looking like a furious penguin. What is that racket? She screeched. You're in violation. I'll have you fined. I held up the permit, safe in plastic. All legal, Margaret. Thanks for your approval. Her flashlight lit up the paper, her eyes landing on Whitaker's note. Her face cycled through shock, rage, and defeat. She knew she'd been outmaneuvered. With a guttural yell, she crumpled the sleeve and stomped back home. Neighbors, peering from their windows, saw it all. The story spread like wildfire. By morning, I was a legend. My neighbor, Carl, a retired teacher, called me. Tom, did you really trick her into signing off? I grinned. I facilitated her consent. At the next HOA meeting, the air crackled. Margaret sat, pale and silent, as Carl stood. I move we elect Tom as president. The room erupted in applause. I declined, nominating Carl instead. He's fair, calm, and his roses are impeccable. Carl won in a landslide. Margaret didn't run. Her reign was over. Months later, Ellen gave birth to our son, Ethan. During another outage, the generator hummed, Ethan's nightlight glowing softly. The neighborhood felt warmer, kinder, with Carl at the helm. I held Ellen close, Ethan asleep in my arms. This, I whispered, is how a little cunning and a lot of nerve brought us peace and power. What do you think, folks? Was I wrong to bend the truth to beat Margaret's tyranny, or was it justified in the face of petty injustice? Share your thoughts below, especially on standing up to bullies and navigating unfair systems. Let's hear your stance.